Are we seeing bottom?
We are seeing bottom.
We are seeing bottom.
Yep. We've got bottom and a really hard return just ahead. That should be within reach.
Stopping.
We're just trying to sneak here.
Holding at 20.
Copy.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll ask him when I get time.
Coming out of auto depth and auto heading.
It looks like there's a nice, strong reflector in the sonar, too.
Yeah, let's
I gotcha.
fix that so it doesn't look so crazy.
Yeah, Patty, we're
You like that?
we changed
Yeah,
the
you
dive
go up a
plan,
little more.
so our
And then
first
you could
waypoint is a
left
10-meter
or right
high
click and bring it
chimney
down
that's
some.
about 25 meters wide at the base, so a nice
So,
big
like,
feature
shrink the little-
on
yeah, there you
this
go.
otherwise
That looks
pretty
good.
flat seafloor for us
Right.
to
Turn auto
find
bias.
easily at the beginning and get oriented and see what if there's any navigation offsets and so forth. So I'm sure that's where we're headed.
I think you're getting blown south.
Yep.
Yeah,
it's
I
pretty
definitely am.
exciting.
But I have the hardest return to the north.
And of course, maybe on the way we could do a snap zoom of that fish that I'm sure everybody is seeing.
Yep. We will get the fish. Let's get lasers on here. Lasers. Could start coming in on it. Video.
Oh man, look at all the sediment here.
What's CTD at? Nah.
1.66, 1.67. Pretty
Yeah.
Do
cold.
you want to close that?
Getting a little closer here.
Tracking focus as you proceed. Squat lobster on the right.
I'm gonna come around to north anyway, Jeff, for you.
Thanks.
Diva. Is that a spot lobster in the blurry
Okay,
background?
so already we've
Alright,
got
I'll hold there.
an ophidiid fish, most likely Lucicorus, though I didn't get a very good look at the head. And then in the background of that shot previously, we could see also
Alright, I'm letting
Okeanos
them
and
go.
spot lobster.
Evidently it's a different ophidiid than...
Okay.
Okay, not Lucicorus.
Pulling out.
Come around to see you.
Lucia chorus.
Yeah, Lucian chorus.
Oh, and there's another fish.
There's
There's 3 fish in the image right now.
tons of fish. Yeah.
And
Okay.
this is just, I mean, looking out onto this view, it's so different to what we've been seeing for the last couple of
Pilots,
days, right, Dad?
Absolutely.
Straight ahead of the top of your image, I see lots of
There's
white
actually 4 fish in view.
lobsters.
Yeah, so right ahead, right dead ahead, got a few fish, a bunch of squat lobster, and the big sonar return is where the plume was coming from, possibly. So
I'm down at 18 looking out at you.
copy. All right, you want to come in on this, Roland? This fish?
Pushing in.
Want to turn those lasers off for me?
Lasers, aye.
I don't want to laze him in the eyeballs. Lucia chorus.
And I've got a
Try to get very tight to the face.
I've got
Okay,
a blip and
drop.
So this
sonar.
one to me looks like a Basigigus.
Oh, sorry, that was too hard of a push.
Max zoom.
Thanks.
It's definitely an ophidiid or cuskeel.
Pilots, you happy with the southbound bailout?
All right, thanks for the video. Still sorting out my easy
Pulling out,
ones.
full wide.
Hey, Deb or Diva, would you like me to give a little intro?
Ready to driving nav?
There you go.
I would totally love that. And if you could introduce yourself, Bill, as well.
Just letting you guys know we're
for
on
those,
bottom
of,
and
those people
bailout is
who are
still
joining
south.
the dive this
All
morning,
right.
that would be great.
We'll steam towards that.
That's you.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you, Rich.
All right, so that agrees with my sonar for sure. All right, we're going to push ahead a little here.
We are on the Mariana Back Arc Spreading Center, so that's a place
There we go.
in the
Brought me
Mariana
into 80.
region where 2 plates are
Thanks.
spreading apart, and there's volcanic activity along that boundary. And with the volcanic activity, there's also hydrothermal venting, or seafloor hot springs. And then there's really unique communities that live at those vents. This is a pretty deep area. We're at 3,200
Let me know when I'm
meters.
stretched out. You might have to bump towards
Yep.
this
Yeah, I think we will.
And
small
Coming into
bump.
view. Sorry, Bill.
So
yeah.
I'm looking north now.
I think we have a
So
few,
we
at least
those
one
are
or
the
two
lights.
squat lobsters maybe.
Okay, so Bill, I'm totally going to interrupt you. I'm really sorry.
Let's get a ship moving.
So as you can see, we're approaching of what looks like the possibility of the beginnings of a vent feature. Those clues that we were talking about that we didn't see yesterday, we're seeing a lot of here.
degrees.
The geology is totally different. But
So,
we're seeing a
here's a
huge
question.
abundance of life compared to
If
the rest of the deep
current's
sea.
blowing
What
south,
was characterized yesterday, the day before, previous days. Hey, I mean, we can see over
Yeah.
60 animals in one shot, you know? And this is just the beginning of what it may be like.
How many meters do you guys want to
And
go?
we're also seeing the geological clues that go along with this. So we're seeing heavy sediment. It looks like it's hydrothermal. We're seeing these rocks that are much more likely
think
to
that
look
we
like
can
sulfides than anything else at this moment.
Come up
We're looking
to where
at
it's
staining
coming out of there.
and possibly even
and be
microbial
okay.
mats. So these are the things that we are attempting to use to get
I don't
us
think that
to
I want to
active
get too close,
hydrothermal
but
vents.
actually,
And with regard to the biology
I
of
don't see a
hydrothermal
way to
vents,
get me out
there
of
are
that.
huge
So
abundances
maybe
of animals, but
maybe we want to
low
come in from at
diversity.
least
So what you see is
west or
you know, a
something.
handful of species basically dominating the assemblage. So they're in the
Yeah.
hundreds
Yeah, let's do that actually.
Pilot,
compared with much of the deep sea where you see one
can you zoom in
individual
on
of a
that,
species
the
every now
white
and
patch
again.
at the center bottom.
Yeah, and
Yep.
the geology
Do
of
what
this
you
site is such that the lava flows, the rocks are pretty flat
How many meters do you
throughout
want?
this whole area.
Let's
so pretty
do-
much anything that is sticking up above the bottom,
Let's do
like
20
this
at
big structure in front of us,
315.
is sulfide. Possibly.
Look at that.
It's either an
I'll call it in now.
Partial.
or a previously active vent.
Yep, I absolutely agree.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Bridge, RV nav.
Although I do think I saw some nice flat pillows, or maybe it was a low beta.
Yeah, we're ready for a small ship move. 20 meters,
But I
bearing
expect to see rope flow or
315,
sheet flow today,
0.2 knots.
just because it's so flat.
Good copy. Thank you, Bridge.
Yeah, so this is a site that was just discovered last December on an expedition on the research vessel Falcor, which is operated by the Schmidt Ocean Institute. And it was a project in collaboration with the NOAA Ocean Exploration and Research
Pulling out.
Program with scientists from Oregon State University, University of Washington, and NOAA's Pacific Marine Environmental Lab. And that project was exploring a big part of the back arc that hadn't been explored before for hydrothermal activity. And we found
Should have a little more
4
time.
new vent sites that had previously been
Cam down
unknown.
to
And
14, 15.
this is one of them. And this is our first opportunity to have a look at the bottom. So the treat for today is, you know, we're seeing things that nobody else has seen before, and including all of us.
Would you come
we'll be
straight
seeing it
up
for the
here?
first time, and,
Would you come straight up? I
we're
can
off to a
see
good
see it
start.
in.
It's going to be a spectacular
Serious,
dive.
Cam?
I think.
Great, I agree completely, Bill.
We're
Very,
also
very
getting
excited about
flares on the
this.
right of the main HD.
For those of you that are just joining us, I'm Deb
yeah,
Glickson. I'm
you see.
a hydrothermal vent geologist. I currently work at Florida Atlantic University, Harbor Branch Oceanographic Institute, and I'm joined here on the
Arms.
ship by Diva.
So I'm Diva Amon. Look at this. This is just amazing.
Yay!
So my name is Diva Amon, and I'm a deep sea biologist at the University of Hawaii. During my PhD, I did quite a lot of work at hydrothermal vent sites. And we're just, both Deb and I are thrilled for this dive today. And it's amazing, shaping up to be incredible already. We can see hundreds of squat lobsters in view right now, Munidopsis squat
Yeah, but it's
lobsters.
Are those all squat lobsters?
No, and then there's also anemones in between. You can see the sort of circular features in between. They're less brightly white.
But so when we panned up, didn't you see what looked like microbial mats, or am I making that
Yes,
Um,
I called it
I
in.
didn't
So
catch
20
that.
meters.
maybe I'm just making it up.
315.
But
Very
there are
exciting.
definitely the two main animals we can see right now are anemones, possibly Marionactus, and Munidopsis squat lobsters.
Pilot, can you pan up if you have a moment?
We've also seen quite a couple of fish lurking around the
If
peripheral
you can't,
areas.
that's fine. Look at that. See?
Oh, yes. I'm so ready for this.
We want to be there now. Right now. Of course.
So am I correct in assuming that this is waypoint 1?
Yes, this is waypoint 1. So we should see if there's any navigation offset compared
In
to
the
the map.
meantime, do you
Okay.
want to,
Is
as
that
we
calling you?
Sirius is moving in, do you want to
sorry, what was
image
that
one of
now?
the anemones?
Nothing.
Okay.
No.
Do we,
We haven't confirmed or denied whether this is waypoint.
Right.
Okay.
We know that
Yeah.
we have found a sulfide.
Yeah.
We know that we're in the area. We just don't necessarily know exactly which one we're looking at this moment, right?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
That's correct. So
Well, it's pretty big. I'm pretty sure we're at waypoint 1, the westernmost one.
Well, once they're able to get moving and get a little closer, we could probably come on up to the top and see what the height is, and then we can correlate that back to the map to make sure that we are in the place we expect to be.
Right.
The idea looks like another one of the.
Is that the same fish or is that a different fish?
So this is a rat tail or macrourid. You can tell straight out from here because of the dorsal fin. Wow, that's a really weird looking one. But yeah, it's got the characteristic pointy face and dorsal fin. He's a little
Range
guy,
open mic.
yeah.
And Julie Huber, who's at Marine Biological Lab in Woods Hole, just mentioned that the yellow mat that we were looking at that was at the base of
Well,
this
we're not
structure
going towards
looks
it, really.
more like a sulfur yellow as opposed to
Came out
the
northwest.
red-orange color we normally get from iron
cheated northwest,
precipitation
so
or
we can
iron
come in.
staining.
so it's going to be a little bit.
Okay, Chris agrees. That is a very strange looking macrourid.
Now that it's so high, though, I mean, I don't.
If possible, can we get
Feel
another
too bad
shot of
about
the
coming right
the rat tail, please,
Yeah, of course.
pilot? Just because it's a quite strange looking one. I'm going to agree with that, definitely.
How's the lighting there, video? Better?
Currently, he's tilted up a little bit, so I still got the flares on the
Okay.
coming in the lens.
Looks like ship's in position. I expect you to swing in like 6 minutes.
Copy. So, pilot, you might have to lift the craft up to get that flare out.
Pushing in. Still got quite a bit of
Okay,
water
I'm
between
gonna
us
agree
and
that this
him.
is a weird-looking fish.
Let's get to his
The other
head
thing
if we
do
can.
is do some zooms of these spot lobsters. We can see what else is in
There's
the
also
background.
some really big polynoids.
What is a polynoid?
Polychaetes? I
Oh,
think
is
that's what that was.
Yeah.
It looked like a scale worm.
So, Bill, right now, and others on the line, basically the pilots are trying to set up so they can sort of approach this chimney. They just want to make sure they're out of the way of any smoke or any plumes. So they're just sort of getting set up so they
Temperatures
can
are holding.
check this out.
Okay, yeah.
Pulling out
It's
full
helpful
wide.
for us to know what they're up to.
Yeah, and actually,
Yeah.
you should be able to hear two channels on the
Yeah, then you
on
stop
the
working
audio,
with
if
us.
I am not incorrect. I think on one channel you'll hear the ROV pilots and navigators talking to one another. On the other, you'll hear only science. So, of course, if you're on the telecon, I think you only hear science. So, too bad.
Yeah, that's right. I'm just on the telecon because it doesn't have a delay.
Right.
Can we zoom in on the anemone, please?
Diva?
Yep, sure.
Bottom
go for
right.
it.
That brown thing is probably sulfide, huh? The rock.
Yeah, this is Patty. I agreed, Bill. I think so.
Try to get closer, so.
Yeah, let me know when you think that ship
There's a
moves
species
down.
of anemone that's very characteristic
Yeah,
of
ship's in
the
position.
back arc vent, and so I'm just checking to see
I
if
expect you to
it's
swing in,
consistent
what,
with
3-4
very
minutes?
inactive Scythios.
Okay.
Great. Thanks.
Um,
Thanks, Dace. I think
if
they're
it's
still
similar
trying to
to
get
yesterday
set
with
up,
these
so
currents,
if
I'm
they
not
have
sure.
the ability to take a snap zoom, we will. But
We
right
could,
now, I think they're just trying to get themselves like ready to go. So we will try for it once they're settled. actually a lot to look at today. I think that people are going to be very, very excited about zooming in on all sorts of interesting biology.
That is confirmed. Always are.
Just thinking out loud, I haven't seen, despite, so many animals all over the place, I haven't seen any obvious hydrothermal flow anywhere. But
You can
I
come
bet
in on
there's
the,
some up on this chimney and
on the
probably
anemone there.
particularly up at the top.
I think there is too, because when we were coming up on this chimney, when they panned upward, I thought I saw microbial mat.
All right.
I thought
I'm
when
gonna
we
spin
zoomed
around
upward or
over,
we panned
get a
upward, we
little
saw
closer.
a lot of white
We'll go for an
staining,
anemones.
but
There's a ton
I
of
could
them. We'll
also
go
be
for
wrong.
one that's
So, and often am. So,
It definitely looks different up.
happier for the tether.
right, but I agree with you. Down here, I see no evidence of even diffuse flow at the moment.
So I've definitely moved.
That being said, our pilots have great eyes,
okay.
and so do the video engineers.
I think-
so they'll probably be the first ones to shout out when they see it.
See what? What are we looking
Any
for?
diffuse flow, any warm water venting,
Oh, well, we
anything that looks like activity as opposed to dead rock with things walking around on it.
okay.
And we're still looking to look at the
If I
anemone as
correct
soon as
myself,
possible.
there
Yeah,
was
we're
that
gonna come up
crack
here and-
that had the mat that Julie
Yep.
was calling.
We're gonna go
sulfur
for this
mat.
one. This
Yep.
is a little easier on the
Warm
tether.
water coming on up there.
And you were busy, so I had a second to run away.
This is Patty again. The dive about a degree north of here in 87 with the Alvin, coming up on hydrothermal vent there, we saw exactly the same
I
kind
think we
of
could get
distribution of anemones
another move
and
in, probably.
lobsters before we
What direction
got
are you
to the
thinking, co-pilot?
really
probably 5-0,
thick assemblages
something like that.
as we got nearer to the vent.
Ooh.
Well, sure, as you go
Just
up,
trying to
there's likely
settle
to
in
be
here,
more.
Roland.
But I do 20.
Okay, there we
Yeah,
go. All right, come on in.
50 degrees, 20 meters. Bridge RV nav.
And a slightly yellower squat lobster, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, we're ready for another ship move. 20
So
meters.
as we zoomed in here,
bearing
we
50,
can see
0.2
some
knots.
gastropods, tiny gastropods on the surface of the geology vent
Good copy,
area,
Bridge.
and then we can also see Minodopsis squat lobster, as well as this absolutely beautiful anemone.
Beautiful, absolutely fantastic. So are these vent anemones or are these regular anemones?
So most of the animals we're going to see today are going to be vent endemic and rely on that venting area pretty much for sustenance. But if this is a Marionactis bitheos, they
All right,
actually
Roland. I'm still,
are some
I'm just
of the main
trying to get
predators
close to these
in
for these
this,
guys, but I really am just
because
pulling
this
on
is-
the
these
tether.
Copy that,
actually-
Bridge. We're trying
We're
to
just gonna have
kind
to
of go around the
The
small
anemones
thing
each
there.
year. Oh,
Yes,
that's
they do.
fascinating.
I know, isn't that interesting?
Thank you, Bridge.
And yeah, so Stace has just said that possibly those gastropods are Dibriersia, which are they're
Full
the
wide.
same ones we saw
He just
the
wanted to say
day
something
that we were at
funny.
the extinct hydrothermal vent.
Have we
on
already
the
seen
top.
the gastropods?
Oh yeah, we just saw them on the vent chimney or the vent sulfides.
So you,
Okay. Can I remind all the scientists that are working in the event log that
All right.
we
So are
do
we
have
headed towards
codes
it
that
now?
we want to use.
We are
so
indeed.
please
All right,
try
great.
to log them if you can. I know we're all really excited today.
and as quickly as possible.
Because we want to try to have it linked up in time
spin
to
up hydraulics. I can
the
stir the
imagery.
crap.
So
Yeah,
if
let's
you can,
go
that
ahead
would
and
be
do
great.
that.
I have a feeling that it's going to be harder today.
You're up.
There. Better?
Yep.
Awesome.
You're back down.
I saw a couple of flares come out when you did that. There's still 2 flares to the right third of the screen.
Yeah, that's probably the temp probe or something over on the left side.
Actually, I saw them flicker as you did what you did with the claw.
I wonder if you could let me know if
okay.
you can.
Maybe I can spin the
absolutely
jaw.
hear you. I think
Wanna
what
do it
we had
again?
is a confusion of jumbled talking for
You're
about
up
the
if you
last
want to.
5 minutes. But I actually totally heard you talk about an Alvin dive in 1987. So,
Yeah, I realize this is all very exciting for everybody involved.
Better?
Yeah, it's all clear now, I believe.
I think today's going to be a really, really interesting dive. Not that yesterday wasn't, but unfortunately, we never actually got to hydrothermal vents on yesterday's dive when we were looking at those gorgeous, pillow mounds. So I
Come
think
back
that,
down.
especially for our biologists who have had a few days of fairly sparse fauna, I think that our
All right,
biologists
I'm
are
gonna
going to
hold
have a
here
field day. But I would
for a
like to
little bit
believe
longer
our geologists
till
will
you catch
also
up.
have
I think
a
it's going to
very
be
Yeah, it'll be
exciting
a
and
really
wonderful day.
satisfying day for both of us.
Momentarily.
We could stay
As
here
well
for 6
as all
hours.
the
I'd be happy.
scientists on
Yeah.
shore. Yeah, this is incredible already.
So we've come around to the side of where we think the plume is coming out. So we're hoping to
the image of
not get the
mountain
plume in our
goes
face.
some Alp
And we're going to
flash in my
approach
head.
now.
In this view.
Can we maybe do a
So,
tilt up
pilots,
again?
it looks to me like when we're looking at the high pack, there's an
I
offset
just-
from where we are. Is that right?
Yeah, I do believe so.
Okay.
Yeah, once we
Okay, that's good.
finish looking at this one and see another peak, then I'll really know for sure
Right, that's-
exactly which way or whatever.
Okay.
But I have a good feeling that 50 meters off. I don't know if you're looking at my screen right
Yep,
now.
I am.
That's what I'm expecting right now. So
Okay,
yeah.
great.
I think it's. Do we know that this is waypoint 1 from visual evidence from shoreside, or
No, we don't.
okay? So,
So,
I wouldn't guarantee that it's waypoint 1 or waypoint 2 quite yet.
right, are we in a position to start doing some imaging, like moving up the chimney and taking a look at what's towards the
Okay,
top of it?
so we came around to the side of the chimney where the smoke won't be billowing in our face, and we've
Right.
made a move towards it. So we're just waiting for Sirius to start doing that.
I'd say
Okay, great.
6 minutes.
So we've got a few minutes left until Sirius starts actually approaching, and then I will also approach.
Great.
Look at this, just so incredible. Every time I
Oh,
look at it, I just
so
get excited
excited,
all
yeah.
over again.
So, shore-based scientists, some people following along.
Should we
So
waddle
basically,
left and right
we are going to be
see the
approaching
surrounding terrain?
towards I think
we
it's
can-
the western
yeah.
side. We're going to be
I'm
looking
stretched.
at
I
of
think
whichever
that's
chimney we're
confused.
at. Whether we're not entirely
a
sure that we're at
confusing
waypoint 1, we
I'm
hope we
sorry,
are,
just
but we'll find out
watching the
after we
Sirius
have a
feed and
chance
getting good
to
imagery
image this
from
a
it.
little bit.
Okay.
For the
We're going to
recorder,
wrap
looks
around,
great.
take a look. We're going to go up and down.
We'll waddle left and right.
It's very typical for hydrothermal vent survey work. We kind of want
Back
to go up
from
so
it
that we can
a little
see
bit.
how tall these are. We can see whether there's activity at the top of them. And we will do that just as soon as the Sirius is able to get into position so that then the ROV can approach. Thanks. You're really quiet. The Sirius feed is on stream 2 as well, so if you're watching along with us, you can switch over to stream 2. And on that one, still kind of hard to see, but it's a little easier to see towards the top of the chimney, which is just coming into view right now.
And the top of the
You're moving
chimney
yet?
looks very
Oh, yeah.
likely
We're
than
gonna
the
come up a
bottom
little.
of the chimney,
Okay.
that position.
Exactly.
push
So
ahead
when
a
we
little.
had done a quick pan up on it, we'd also seen what looks like, well, to me, it looks like microbial mat, but we'll find out when we get there.
It looks like there might be some overhangs that are flanges.
I did notice
Certainly from
flanges.
and from your pictures from the pictures that were taken by the autonomous vehicle
Yeah.
Sentry,
Loads of
those
flanges.
down-looking pictures, they definitely looked like they were very flangey. It looked like there were a lot of pieces that were sort of coming out horizontally from these main chimneys, and I think we'll get a chance to test that.
Especially if we get to, I mean, the main one we were looking at was at waypoint 10. That looked extremely
Was that the one that was super flangey?
Yeah.
Come over to the densely populated section for a second.
I think you're okay to keep coming up.
All right.
So it's important to point out at this moment that this incredible imagery that we're seeing is not characteristic of the deep
Can we
sea
point the-
at all.
Characteristic of
Some
vents.
stuff real quick.
Yeah, exactly. It's
See
characteristic
what's
of one
coming.
habitat within the deep sea, and this habitat is not very common, as Stace was saying yesterday.
I don't think I've ever seen anemones like this before.
I've seen these in the Southern Ocean, but not this exact species, but
Yeah.
anemones there. And also at
Oh,
Cayman.
you see it?
But
It's all just smoke.
yeah, so
billowing
this
right
huge
there.
abundance of life is not usual
cool.
in the deep sea. and
CTD temperatures
these
holding.
vents are very
Copy that.
special and very
Let's get yours
extreme
back up.
habitats where animals have a huge source of food, unlike the rest of the deep sea where they rely on
Okay,
what is
rolling.
particular
Okay,
organ.
now
Very
let's get yours
extreme
back up.
habitats where animals have a huge source of food, unlike the rest of the deep sea where they rely on what is
rolling.
particulate
Can,
organic matter that
go a partial
drifts
zoom
down
and
from
scan
the
around on
surface
some of these,
layers,
see if there's one that's
2
Copy
to
that.
3 kilometers
interesting
to
or
the deep
different.
sea, whereas here they rely on the hydrothermal vent fluid or
Partial.
the ecosystem. Some animal
Something
that
white
also
on the
relies on it.
left.
It's just an ecosystem based on
Oh, little
hydrothermal fluid
polychaete.
rather than particulate
Yeah.
A
matter.
couple of them.
Oh, look at that view in the Sirius.
Large
So we can see
polychaete, I
two
would say.
different
Can we do
anemones here,
lasers?
what looks like two
Yep,
different anemones,
course.
one that's darker
I got
in
you.
colour, and then the
On.
Marionaptus bitheus, I think.
You want to go to tight zoom on it?
Sure thing.
I didn't
See if
hear.
the shrimp swimming around.
Yeah, you can go for it.
Oh, I haven't seen
Oh,
any
I
shrimp
haven't
yet.
seen any shrimp yet, yeah, but oh, look at that
That's- yeah.
beautiful polynoid.
Max zoom?
Absolutely beautiful.
Copy.
So that's likely
Sneaking in a little bit as I get tethered.
Branchinotogluma.
Oh, weird.
Yes,
It is?
so
Okay.
polychaete polynoid. And you can see the beautiful scales on the dorsal surface.
Pushing in a little more. I'll hold.
I just can't wait to go up. Look at what you're looking at in Sirius. Like, I'm so excited.
Okay.
I'm going to lose my tiny little mind
Try
back
to
here.
hold still like this.
I really want some more coffee, but I can't. I just can't right now.
I don't think there's any need for coffee here in the control room. I think we're
If
ready
you
to
feel
go.
so
look, it's
comfortable,
walking. Oh my god,
that big
amazing.
thing hanging over top of you.
Do you see a
is,
snail?
Yeah, so
Can you
these,
get close to
these
this guy?
snails are like.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, I
Yeah.
do.
So we saw a couple of these snails before, and we think they may be similar to the
I'll
ones
sneak
which
in a
we
little
saw
more
on the
then.
Starting to
extinct
swing.
hydrothermal
Copy
chimney
that.
like 2 or 3 dives
Far
ago.
removed did you put towards it?
2-0.
They look much smaller
Kinda
than
like
the ones we saw on the other
50 away from it.
hydrothermal vent
Okay.
chimney. Although I could be completely making that
Still
up.
I'm
happy
going to go through my
distance in your
Gantt
sonar
catalog right now.
from it?
Yeah, if I
See
get
what- see
closer,
what I-
I'm going to get concerned, but I think that I'm settling out.
Okay.
In a little recess in the side of the deposit.
Yep, I definitely see a few as well. In fact, I see 3, 4 on.
Yeah, once you look closely, they're
everywhere, yeah.
But that polynoid is so perfect.
Sorry.
Okay, I
Push.
think we got enough of this. If you want to go
You know, a
back
lot
to
of the
flying
time when
pilot.
you
Okay.
sample polynoids,
Pulling
they
out.
come up and they
Yep.
drop all their scales off of them, so you just find a whole bunch of scales floating around in the bio box.
I
Thank
did
you.
And
see
to
I'd
like
see
for you
one
to come up
perfectly
anyway.
intact and alive
before it's
Okay.
brought to the
I'll
surface.
come
it's
up.
just beautiful.
Keep an eye on temperatures here.
Okay,
Yeah.
I feel like I'm going to be really irritating
back
today.
up off it.
Are we able to get up a little higher yet?
We are doing that as we speak.
Fantastic.
We will make progress as we can. We're coming up on the good stuff. We'll do a countdown. 5, 4.
Oh yeah, it looks like we are. Do you think we
Your
can see
mazes
flanges?
might be a little
in the series?
Yeah.
overhang there.
Yes.
Yes.
Those are definitely
Yes.
flanges in the series. Thanks, Stace. Thank you very much for that.
Keep coming
I'm just
up here.
going through the
Copy that.
handbook of hydrothermal
See
vent fauna
hydrothermal
to try and
shrimp
see if I
on
can
that rock.
try and
Yes.
distinguish.
The bottom and all the way up.
Awesome! Look at that.
I see
Oh my
lots of
goodness,
flow.
clams. We got tons of shrimp.
Okay, so these shrimp are likely from the genus Chorocaris. And so here we can see 3 main
Looks like the flow is
vent
coming from the
endemics.
left.
Well,
Smoke.
Probably
vent-
should, but I have a feeling that.
You what?
vent reliant
Starting to
fauna.
get into the smoke
Spot
layer.
lobsters, anemones,
Okay.
shrimp.
Oh yeah.
And what you tend to see happening at hydrothermal vents is that you see a very clear zonation that usually ties in to where the amount of fluid
So
being extruded by the vent.
I can zoom
So
through.
Serious
you tend to
CTD?
get animals which rely on
Okay.
that fluid
Ice cold.
100%
Yeah, you can zoom from
for
here
their
up.
diet.
Going
And
to
those
the
animals sort of
ones
jump
with the
to
fluid
try and get
flow.
as closely,
Yeah.
close as they can to. Oh, you can also see some bifidary
Holding.
crabs in between.
We'll keep an eye on it.
Some of the white
You can
bifidary
see them, they
crabs,
get
as well
caught
as,
in the
yeah,
flow
some
and just get blown
beautiful
around.
vent fluid.
Pilot,
Yes.
would it be possible to do some
As well
surveying
as-
of, wait, hold on.
Sorry.
Can we do some surveys
I
before we
can't.
start
You
doing
gotta
big zooms?
turn it up. I can't hear you. You gotta turn your radio on.
Can we start doing some surveys before we do zooms?
Camera, you can, there's a at least one
Of
smoke around
course.
the top.
Yeah. What kind of surveys would you like?
It would probably be good if we could pan up and down
Okay.
and kind of see the vertical structure
Yeah.
before we start zooming in on stuff.
Sort of like an overview.
Copy that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
May pull up.
So
Yep.
right now in the shot we can see Munidopsid squat lobsters, some bifidary crabs, as well as just behind the vent fluid, there were loads of what I think are Alvinaconca, which are these incredible hairy snails.
All right.
And I might recommend from this distance or
literally
slightly
carry.
back
Yep, I know.
for better imagery.
And there's a black smoker.
From here or slightly back?
At the
Looks
top
like
of
you
the
got
tree.
Oh yeah, look at that guy.
Looks like
Yes.
you got a stowaway.
So I think what we're
What's
going to
that?
do,
You got a stowaway,
people
little
on the
crab
line, we're
crawling
going
on
to
you.
try to just get a
Oh,
little
on
bit
the
of imagery
front,
of
yeah.
this first, so we can
That's
sort
funny.
of get a feel for
How
what
do you
we're
get on
looking
there?
at.
Stereo
And
CTD,
then
I
we
know.
will come in
1.66
and we will
Celsius
do
holding.
some,
Copy.
probably some high temperature probes if we can, if the pilots feel comfortable with that. And then we will do some zooming for some fantastic imagery. And then we will decide what to do after that. Does that sound reasonable to everyone?
Look at these incredible structures.
Yeah, off he goes.
Plan is excellent.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right, lifting up a little more.
There's some other smokers on the
Continue
right
to
side of
rotate
the
around.
camera one.
If we could do like a wrap
Yeah, I
around
Cool
the
think
view
top.
from Sirius.
Yep, and continue sort of
So pilots,
cycling
as we
left and
image,
right
it would be
around
nice
the
if you
thing.
could go up and down, and then if there are some sort of, if you can pan to the left or right and sort of wrap around the chimney a little bit so that we can get a feeling for what the whole structure looks like before we come back and image and do some temperature probes, that would be fantastic.
Copy that. We'll do what we can for
Yep.
getting around it.
Hey, Deb,
might have to
Bob
make
is
ship
pointing
moves
out
to do
that
that if
because
that's
we're so deep,
something of
the,
interest.
the temperatures could potentially be
Uh,
very high at these vents. So
Keep an eye on our tether and do what we can.
I bet that underneath that flange.
If you
is
wanna
a
come around
good
a
place
port.
to take a temperature.
Yeah, I'll go as
little
far as I
bit.
can
I'm
to
gonna
port,
guess
which is
like
not
3
much
to
farther
4
than I am, and
degrees.
then
I
I
was
feel
going to say, I mean,
stubborn.
we don't think this is going to be above 400,
No,
do we?
I don't think so. It's not that
Co-pilot,
deep.
is your GUI, is that the temperature sensor
We don't want to
probe
blow out the high temp
and
probe.
vehicle probe?
Yeah, are you gonna?
Isn't this
Yeah.
just
This is fantastic.
incredible? I am.
Love it. We may be having, a couple of excited moments here on the ship, even though, of course, we sound very cool. We're really quite thrilled.
Yeah, the top of the chimney is spectacular.
You still feel
It is.
southerly
It's just
current?
incredible.
Come, you wanna zoom
a little bit, yeah.
Okay.
Roland,
So-
you want to zoom on Sirius?
We
The
are.
view from above on camera 2 is really spectacular.
Oh my
Right.
god,
It really is.
Yeah.
Actually, not a lot.
And actually, maybe that's
fine.
another question
Up
we should
and
ask.
away.
Only enough to maybe lose what's behind
Super
ROV.
thin spires.
That's fine. You just keep it wide then.
Yeah.
Pilot, do we have a gauge of how tall the structure is?
Well, the Bathy says 10 meters,
Okay,
if it's
great.
that one.
Thank you.
But I did not mark depth at bottom and depth
Already
at top.
at 10
I'll figure
meters.
that out tonight, looking at the video maybe.
Well, your
Oh,
altimeter is
look
pretty
at
accurate.
this.
Oh,
This
that's
is
true. The
fantastic.
altimeter has still got bottom lock. So I'm
Look at
at
all that
15
smoke.
meters
You can
above
just see
bottom,
it.
and I'm not quite to the top.
Yep, we're very happy about
So
that. We're
that's
going to wait to see when we get
that's
to the
fair.
top.
Thanks, co-pilot. That's actually really
So
good.
you can also see it
Good
on the altitude.
thinking.
I'm not sure if the scientists at home have the ROV pilot cam in their quad cam or not.
Watch lead.
Yes.
So you guys asked how tall it is, and
Yes,
my
please.
co-pilot pointed out that it is sheer, so we can see to the bottom with the altimeter. And we've got altitude of 13.2 meters at the moment, and we're
Awesome.
not quite to the top yet.
Fantastic.
Great.
So
And
we're-
that's the
pilots.
bottom of the vehicle down.
Yep, that's
so
great. So we are already at an altitude of
come up with
13
you?
point now
Yep.
5 actually, and we're going to continue to move up this chimney until we look at the top of it.
Tall
You
bit.
can see the billowing
It is
plumes
tall.
of black smoke that are behind it and sort of engulfing the structure. This is great.
Oh, look at that. Look how tall it is.
This is beautiful.
Is that the top there? You got view of there?
I think
That's
so.
as far as I can light it, at least.
Doesn't look like it yet in ROV or
Passing
videos.
15
Yeah.
meters.
Well, we just made it
I
to
was
15.
hoping, you could maybe explain to folks
Continuing
what
up.
that smoke is made out of.
Who wants to take that on? Who would like to talk about the composition of the black smoke?
There's some more there.
Wow, this thing doesn't end.
It's like a ring of black smoking around the top.
Look at that.
So the flow is to the south, so it might be just stuff blowing across it.
It doesn't matter. We're enjoying it anyways.
Okay.
No, but I appreciate that.
I was trying to-
Thank you.
Trying to assist
Yeah, it
in.
looks like it's coming out of the left
characterizing.
side center right there.
Yeah. And we do have more. I'm passing 20 meters tall now.
Oh, look at those guys at the top on the left. Those are just pumping out black fluid up there.
Is it fluid or particles? It's fluid. Oh, okay.
Science, maybe you guys could talk about the expected temperature differences between the darker fluids and the lighter fluids, as well as the mineral deposit.
So one of the reasons that hydrothermal vents are incredible, at least, in terms of physical properties, is that black fluid coming out there is likely between 300 and 400 degrees centigrade, probably closer to 400 given the depth. And we'll try and get a measurement of that later on.
Still both cold, 1.66.
But even though it's coming out at the orifice at about 300 and something degrees Celsius, as soon as it hits that cold water of the deep sea, which is essentially 2 degrees centigrade or so on,
I don't want to drive through the smoke. I feel like
precipitates
it should be around the north side. I mean, I think it's worth the jump to get it, do a little circle to get around to the north side and do all these from the north. The current stays pushing to the south.
That's fine with me.
I think we're going to want to scan these on the north side and not be in the plume.
Your timer's going to pull with you, but yeah.
Will only be about 20 degrees centigrade at
the most. Yeah.
You guys could work out how to do a circle around it.
5 and 20, for instance.
And
that's what's so interesting about the biology, actually, what lives on these vents, is that they live in an extreme of temperature, they live at extreme of chemicals. They really are uniquely suited to only live at hydrothermal vents.
But I think that there's this common misconception that all of these animals live in extremely high temperatures.
No, they don't.
That's not the case. Most of them live in sort of bath warm water, lukewarm water. And that's probably
look
warm
at this
for
tiny
them.
little spire capping everything. This is great. So we are actually already 25 meters off bottom.
So this is 6-0.
I assume we're still being able to look down pretty well and that this is accurate. So this this chimney is
why don't we just make it north?
Over 25 meters high.
So I'm basically the top of D2 is at the top of this thing matched.
Fantastic.
Good.
So 25 meters plus the height of D2, which is maybe 2.5, 3 meters, something like that. So
50 meters.
27 meters high?
15.
30 meters high.
30 meters high.
Yeah, okay. Do a small jump.
I just kind of want to
Bill,
do
you
a jump that way,
underestimated
right?
the size of the chimneys here.
Turn right.
And Pilot, you got your camera tilted down a little bit, don't you?
Yeah.
What do you think?
Or up, rather.
What's that? I do have it tilted up, but I'm looking at Sirius to match whether our vehicle's at the top or not.
Let's talk to Pilot real quick. Pilot.
Yes.
I'm at 6-0. I'm thinking just a 15-meter jump to the north will get me around, and then we can look. How do you feel about that?
Okay. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, I just don't want to be.
You absolutely can.
I don't want to be wrapping the tether around it or
you can see those shrimp
anything
right
like
there.
that.
I'll call it in.
I don't want to drive through the plume or wrap the tether. So
I was just running it through.
Yeah. Yep.
So the
That
shrimp
sounds
are
great to me.
going to try and get as close to the fluid as they
Bridge,
can
RV now.
because they rely on the vent fluid to farm the bacteria.
Yeah,
which
we're ready
they
for a
live
small
on.
ship move.
So
1 to
what they'll do
5
is they'll
meters.
put themselves
due
in
north.
that warm water.
0.2
and
knots.
basically they have modified appendages on their heads which allow them to farm the bacteria, which form what is
Good coverage,
the
thanks.
sort of plants of this ecosystem.
So do you want to try to do some zooms here now that we're here?
So I think, have we gone around it?
We haven't actually gone around it.
So what we're doing is sending Sirius around to the north.
Perfect.
That way we can do a scan around the north side of it.
That sounds great.
I don't want to do a scan around the south. There's just so much smoke in our face. Yeah. So we're going to move to the north, and we're going to be able to do a little pirouette scan around on the north side.
This is a really cool chimney morphology. Its form, if you look at it, it's all these very long fingers that are just, they're basically little mineral precipitates that are just forming upward.
And I don't want to ruin the imagery, but if we could have
20
the
on my
lasers on it. Oh, no, they are on. My bad.
15
Sorry.
or
I can't
10.
even see them. Where
Yeah,
are they?
they're on
Coming
the,
a lot closer
just
on my
moving to
sonar.
the-
Oh, yeah,
on
you're
D2
right.
sonar. Can you zoom in
Well,
D2
that
sonar?
sort of gives you a hint of just how big this is that we're
Fighting
looking
over
at.
it. I got
Those
it.
spires are huge.
Some are not. Some are little. But
No,
the
Copilot,
sort
I'd
of
like to
the
zoom a little bit
composite
on
spire
Sirius now
itself
since
is
we've
quite
got so
big.
much smoke.
Just fantastic.
Yeah,
Safety
so
first.
for those of you who didn't hear it, they're
20
moving
meters.
Sirius around so
I'd
that we
rather
can
not
wrap
right
around
now.
the north
Trying
side
to
of the
watch the
chimney.
tether.
We're not going to go to the south side because that's where the black smoke is heading towards. So we're going to get some more views of this chimney. And after we have done that, then we'll do some zoom in and sort of check out the imagery in the area.
So even at the top here, you can see what look like gastropods on the
watch it for a
dark brown
minute,
of the
Roland.
chimney. And in the white
Oh, yeah.
areas, you can see some Bythograde crabs, probably Ostinogrea williamsi, and then also the vent shrimp jostling around. And those are likely Chorocaris. There are
Is anybody
two
putting this in that
species.
log?
I'm not sure which it is. But these are all just absolutely characteristic
Okay, you wanna come in?
vent fauna. And this
Come
is
on
just
in.
great.
I wanted to watch the tethering with the heaves.
I just had a question about the current direction based on the heading of the ROV. So is the current southwest, or can you actually figure out the exact direction of the current?
I will ask. Oops.
You can also see some
Try that again.
some tiny beehive structures.
Nav, question.
Go ahead.
Do we know what the prevailing currents are?
South.
All right, so the currents are south right
yeah,
now.
and I don't know how strong, but it's you can look at the black smoke and see
Yeah,
it
they're
getting
moving.
blown off. The current's moving pretty good.
Yep.
So I would say south at maybe a quarter to a half.
So
quarter
south
knot
at
maybe.
quarter to maybe either a
Yeah.
quarter knot, maybe half knot.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Might be like a quarter.
Oh, I love these. I know. I love these little fingers. So what you guys can't see streaming from home or from the exploration command centers or wherever you might be is that people keep wandering into the command center.
Yeah, I
van
think
here.
this is the most amount of people we've ever had in the command center on this expedition.
So thanks for joining us.
So are those a ton of small little polychaete, all those little dots?
I don't know if they're
So,
shrimp. I think they're shrimp.
Which ones do you
see
mean, Pilot?
to the right.
Oh.
See
So
these
no,
little
I think
dots?
those are some type of gastropods.
Yeah.
They're either Alvinaconcha or a type of limpet, but I can't quite see just now. Just
Yeah,
right
because
here.
limpets are very, very common on a lot of
Yes. And then there's shrimp off
Look
to
at
the
those
left.
shrimp. They're like-
yeah, and they just
CGs are
constantly
holding
jostling in
nicely.
the fluid. That's just what they
Copy.
do.
That's so interesting. 'cause
Rearranging themselves, trying to
Yeah.
get closer.
So cool.
And that all of this, they must be really light because every time I make a small adjustment with the vehicle, I'm trying not to give any more than 20%, and that will still I can see a apparent effect between me pushing 20% and everything on the wall moving.
I mean, they're also very small. They're only,
Yeah.
6 centimeters, 7 centimeters.
So we're trying to keep the thruster commands very light so as not to push things around too much. But
This
every
is
once
so
in a
sort
while
of
I
Tim
do.
Burton,
Yeah, I was just thinking that with the long, skinny
Long skinny
spires.
spires, yeah.
Sort of Dr. Seuss. So, the last two dives that we've done have seen a bunch of really fantastic geology. We've had a lot of fresh glassy lavas. We saw a ton of pillow lavas. They were fantastic. They were absolutely great dives. Today's better.
Today is 100 times better.
Well, we got a great combo of cool biology.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
geology.
I mean, this is just the best of both worlds.
You want me to tilt down on your minis Zeus while you come down?
I wonder what those bumpy... see
no,
those
I've got a
little
Yeah,
really
they
good
look like
view from
beehives.
the
Beehive structures.
Yeah.
using those as the up down and then the mini Zeus's, or I'm using those as the down and the mini
Shore-based
Zeus's up.
scientists, how are we
Copy.
doing?
So I can sort of move up and down without having to move the camera too much. But maybe pilot cam, we
Okay.
keep aiming there.
Just
Then I've
wanted
got a
to make
straight
sure
down.
you were still there.
That's where you are.
Yeah. Yeah, if you want to turn it so it's like between the skids.
I was wondering, it looks
More
like
views, I guess,
sometimes
is
the
better
top
than
wash is,
less.
kind of pushing
I think this is a good distance from it right now.
the side of the,
Try it.
the white
Judge what.
chimney. Is that
that.
what's going on?
Yeah,
good.
that is actually exactly what was happening. The ROV pilot was saying that they're only using about 20% of their thrust, and even so, when they make
So I'm
a move,
definitely
they can see
turning,
the shrimp
so that's
sort of
good.
reacting
You come full
to
wide
that. So yeah, there's definitely some kind of interaction between the ROV movement and what the shrimp are doing.
Co-pilot ship started moving.
So while we're looking at
maybe
this incredible
Yeah.
imagery,
5
I think
minutes
I
ago.
should just take a
Yeah,
step
I've
back for
definitely
viewers
moved
at home
because I've rotated
and
around.
sort
Copy
of
that.
explain the why of the amazingness of vent ecosystems. And that's
Before
go
you
ahead.
do that, why
Yeah.
don't you actually tell them where we are and what depth we're at?
That's okay. Let's start with that. That's a
Yeah.
good plan. So right now we are at a depth of 275 meters
But we're also about 20 meters off the bottom.
seafloor.
Yep.
Looking at an incredible black smoker hydrothermal vent
So
chimney.
the only problem with this is
These chimneys, that black smoke is
I'm not
likely between
careful, the
300
current
and
can blow
400
me
degrees
into.
Celsius. And we're
so
currently
get
doing,
the smoke out of the face,
we're
but be
hoping to
careful not to get
traverse
blown
from,
You're
into
still on
the
that west side. of it.
Waypoint 1?
yeah, but
From
west to
facing
east, from west to east,
southwest.
hitting
Yeah.
a series of 10 waypoints.
I think
These
as I
waypoints
sneak
were
over, I have to
identified
apply more
by
reverse thrust.
the
You're
AUV
facing
Sentry,
southeast, so you're still on the
autonomous
west
an
side.
autonomous vehicle,
Yeah, that's what I
which
mean,
was
sorry.
here last year
I think
aboard
this
the
is a good
Falcon.
orientation for you.
And they did a 5-meter above bottom image survey
Smoke out of the face,
and
but
identified several
still see
areas of
lots of
venting.
cool
And so
stuff.
we have used
Yeah.
that to
I agree.
essentially outline where
They
we,
want-
where
they
we
want
wanted
to
to
scan
go on
around.
this dive.
Probably
And this
see a
is
little bit of these
merely
sides.
waypoint 1 or 2. I'm not sure if we've decided which,
I
but
think we've decided it's 1 because
it's
of how
one?
tall
Okay.
it is.
so this is waypoint 1, and we've essentially touched down on an absolutely incredible hydrothermal vent. And we're hoping that our other 9 waypoints during this dive are going to be just as exciting as this one.
They totally will. I can feel
Yes,
it already.
I agree.
But the nice thing is they might show us something different that we're not seeing here. Maybe there'll be a different morphology. Maybe the form of the chimney itself will be different. Perhaps there will be different concentrations of biology from one chimney to another. So there's a lot to look forward to today.
Definitely.
Some interesting
No hydrothermal vent
shapes
site
over
is
here.
the exact
Yeah.
same as another.
Exactly.
You've got a finger right under you can't quite pick out yet in the mid cams. See it? It's serious.
Yeah. I see it in the pilot.
So
Yeah.
why these environments are so exciting is that on land, the basis of all food chains is photosynthesis.
I'll back up a little. We can
Plants
light it up for
make,
Sirius for a bit.
Oh,
make
no,
energy,
you're fine. I was just
well,
letting you
make
know.
food rather, using
No,
the
I think it'll
sunlight
be
as energy.
Cool.
And of course, in
Back
the
up.
deep sea, down at these depths, there is no light,
Got a
there is no
broad view.
sunlight. And so most animals rely on particulate organic carbon or particulate organic material, POM or POC2, which travels all the way from the surface layers down 3-4 kilometers to the deep sea, where a lot of it doesn't actually make it. And so it means that food in the deep sea is very limited in many places. But then you get these tiny ephemeral islands every now and again in certain places on the deep sea floor, mostly around subducting ridges or spreading centers. And you get these incredible environments where instead of animals relying on that POM, particular organic matter, they use chemosynthesis. And what that is instead of using the sun as a form of energy,
you're moving
animals
yet
use
towards the north?
chemicals in this
I
vent
think I'm
fluid that
almost
we're
done.
seeing.
Oh, okay.
So
I've rotated all the way around.
Okay, great.
basically, in most cases of vents, it tends to
Oh,
be the
yeah, okay.
sulfides that are in the vent fluid. And
Nav can correct me though.
instead of having plants at these environments,
What's
the
up?
primary producers tend to be
He was just
bacteria,
asking if I'm moving.
which
I said
can
I thought I
form
was almost done.
thick white bacterial mats coating the vent surface. Or they can also, for some animals, grow on the outside of their bodies. Many animals have actually
It was a
modified
small
appendages
move. I'm not sure if I'll be able to tell
farm
in USBL.
that bacteria on
But
their bodies.
timing-wise,
And then
I called the
also
move in
some
at
animals
54,
actually
so
have
it's
this
been 10
bacteria
minutes.
within their bodies as endosymbionts.
I've
And
come
so you've got this
I
whole
started at
food
like
web that has
5-0.
evolved
So I
to
came
make the
around now.
most
oh, okay.
of an entirely different food source from that we rely on, and most life on this
That
planet
was a good
relies on.
move.
And vents were only discovered,
it.
I think, in
Nice one.
1979.
That was you, Nav.
I think
No,
that's
I think
right.
you made the
In
call now.
1979.
Look
So
how thin
until
it gets.
1979,
Yeah.
we had no
And
idea
all of this just
that there was an
blows up at the
environment like
top.
this.
How does
And we
that
had
not just
no
topple?
idea that there were
Structurally
animals that could
unnerving.
exist on this planet that didn't rely on sunlight.
And did
Isn't
you
it
mention?
1979?
Yeah, and did
Yeah.
you mention the fact that I think that first dive, that first discovery at the Galapagos, there were no biologists on board.
Yes, that is true.
It was a geology cruise.
And so they didn't. I mean, I think they knew it was quite a big deal what they'd found, but I remember hearing they didn't
down a
even
little
have
for you.
ethanol on
Thanks.
board to preserve the animals that they brought up, and so they had to use drinking alcohol. I'm not sure if
1977,
that's
not
1977. Sorry, my
yes,
apologies.
they did
Thank
have
you,
to
Julie.
use. They did have to use
Drinking alcohol.
Yeah,
Instead of.
which we do not
Lab
have on this ship
ethanol.
because
Yeah.
we have a dry ship. That is the way that we work now.
And plus, we come organized. We
Yes.
have ethanol on board.
Yeah, 1977 was a really long time ago. So there are some changes that have happened.
Have no
to,
fear, the biologists are not
how
pouring
we do
whiskey
deep
on the
sea
samples.
This is just awesome.
But these usually aren't continuous features, and they don't occur all over our ocean sea floors, as I just said. They usually occur along mid-ocean spreading ridges or subducting areas.
I found that really skinny.
No?
This is a back arc basin, so this is a back arc spreading area as
Right.
well.
Okay, so back arc spreading, mid-center spreading, and we do get them at subducting regions.
Yeah, you get hydrothermal vents at arc volcanoes.
So yeah, Bill, I agree. So what you see is you see the vents. Oh, look at that structure. Look at that little tiny guy just hanging out right in the front.
And so, so the first vents were actually found just off of the Galapagos Islands. And since then, there have been several different what we call biogeographic provinces of vents discovered. And so in a similar way to the way you have different biology on different continents, you get different vent fauna dominating in different areas. So, for instance, in the Atlantic, the dominant animal tends to be shrimp. In the Pacific, around the Galapagos area, you tend to get the beautiful riftia tube worms with the big red plumes.
But in the northern Juan de Fuca, where I've studied, they're much
flying no more than 10%.
They're much smaller.
I have to fight
they're
the
the little
current. I
twisty
can't run
tube
into the
worms.
thing.
Yeah, which is not riftia. I think it's...
I can't remember. Uh-oh.
Pushing around the
Is
other
it
side here.
alphanella?
Is it paralvenal?
Sorry.
Regia.
It's Regia.
Thank
There we
you.
go.
Regia
What's that?
piscidae.
It's been a while since I had to think about what the name of the tube worms was.
You know, and we're still discovering vent sites. I think most of the world's vent sites are yet to be discovered. Up until, I think it was in 2010, they found a totally new biogeographic province in the Southern Ocean, which was dominated by the kiwa crabs, also known as the Hoff crab, nicknamed the Hoff crab, after David Hasselhoff because it's got a really hairy chest. I'm kidding you not. It's not the scientific name, but that's the nickname. And so, you know, it's just, this is, we're so lucky to be able to be continuing this exploration and finding new vent sites like this one. Yes, we had a hint about this one, but this is the first time that it's ever been imaged in such a precise and incredible way. In the Indian Ocean, you get scaly-foot gastropods, so snails that have essentially an armor which coat their foot, and they're not sure whether it's
you looked at me for that.
they're not sure whether it's a detoxification or a protection thing. But you tend to get, yes, you do get similar animals that do occur between many of the vent sites, like for instance the squat lobsters, but it does also vary. Some of the dominants do vary, and you do get these very distinct, extremely distinct biogeographic provinces between regions.
And you also, you know, there are many, many morphologies, many different forms of how these guys are created over time. And depending on where you go, you can really see totally different looking chimneys. So,
Agreed.
Chris.
And that was one of the questions that we had before we came here, was what might these
Any
chimneys
ship
look like?
moves?
Are they going to be
Gentlemen, are
low
you happy where you're
mounds?
at?
Are they going to have lots of
Can you give
flanges
us a
on
little
them?
slight
Are they going
turn
to be
to the
tall
right to
and
bring
narrow?
more of the right
and
side
that's,
into the
that's
image?
one of the things that we as geologists were taking a look at and trying to, it's one of the
good,
reasons we're
thank you.
imaging this is not just for the biology, but to understand the form before we start zooming in and checking out all the cool stuff.
I think this is the first time I've worked with Pacific vents, which is so exciting. But these, to me, remind me of a mix between the Indian Ocean and the Southern Ocean in terms of vent morphology.
And that's
I don't know.
That's a good question for our shore-based scientists, is what do these vents look most like to you?
One of the interesting things is the absence of those big tube worms.
I don't think chimneys, look a certain way in one ocean and another way in another ocean. I think it varies from vent to vent based on, the temperature of the fluids and what they're passing through and what they're dissolving on their way up, all kinds of variables. Even on the Juan de Fuca Ridge, there's a huge variety of chimney
Co-pilot, I
shapes
got
and morphologies.
CTD temperatures on the graph on my SCS
Not a
display.
regional thing.
It says,
Oh, no, I completely
I don't know if you
agree.
can see 'em
I
in
was
here or
just
not.
asking if these reminded you of anything in particular.
Oh.
Yeah,
So if
exactly.
you see those go crazy, then
Just a question.
Yeah, that's good to know.
okay. The scale at the top
I
of
never
it's
saw
only
those
2
skinny
Celsius.
things
So
on the right.
Okay.
Oh, the
Copy.
little tiny like fingers coming up. This is
I'm
fantastic.
going to go in now.
Yeah, that's what is
I'm at
that?
+6 gain, co-pilot.
What's what?
The really tiny spires
Just
and
let
the
you know, in
coloration
case I can do
of
any
this
more,
portion of the
trying to
chimney
keep your
really reminds
everything
me
in
of
view
a
for
place
you.
to the south called Urashima.
I can come up, but I'd
It's
like
in
to
the
stay out
southern
of the
part of the
smoke.
back arc. About
Cool.
4
Should be
degrees
out of it
south
now.
of here.
Cool.
Thank you
thanks.
very much, Stace. That's awesome.
Today. All right, so I think what we're doing right now is imaging the north face of the chimneys, if I'm not mistaken.
That's correct. So we went around. We did the west face and the north face.
Are there
And
any ideas why there
The
are
east
none of
face
these
is
big
still not
tube
quite
worms
in
here?
reach. I don't know if you want to try to keep going around like that. That's another ship move.
I'm sorry.
It's up to
I'll
you.
make a comment on that.
I can
This
still
is
reach
Jason
both
Whipple, and
the west
the
and the
tube-worm
north
species
face
characteristic in
pretty
the
easily.
eastern Pacific are not found out here in the western Pacific because, as Devo was talking about the biogeographic provinces, however, there are a couple of tube-worm species in the western Pacific, just that
That's
we
okay.
haven't seen them
So
yet on
we
the back
scanned
arc
up and
itself
down
here in the
the
Mariana.
west face
And so, Bill,
and up the
a lot
north.
of those biogeographic provinces, to follow
Because of
on
my
from what
tether,
Stace was
the
saying,
east is
that
still out of reach.
they're
It's
they
another
are a
20-minute
function
ship
of
move or something to
dispersal
get to
capability
that
of
section.
the animals.
And then the southern face we want to skip because of the plume.
Probably
So
those large riftier tube
we can
worms
either start
are not
zooming
capable
or
of
we can
dispersing
try
far
to
enough,
move the ship around to get around to the
whether
east side.
it's as a result of hold on, sorry.
Okay.
Hold on. Deb's going to ask me something.
Yeah, sorry guys, I don't mean to interrupt. We have imaged basically two faces of this chimney so far. Do we want to try to image another face of this chimney, or do we want to start looking more closely at the biology and the geology? Do we want to start doing some zoom-ins? That's a question for you guys on shore.
I guess that depends on how much time we have.
And that's why I was asking and posing it, because I think we're going to want to move on at some point in time. We're obviously going to spend enough time here to really see things, but I think now would be a really good time for us to start really doing some nice zoom-ins, getting some really great imagery, and then hopefully deploying the high-temperature probe to figure out what at least parts of the temperature of this chimney are.
Yeah,
But I want to make sure that we all agree on that.
I think we've gotten a pretty good feel for what, exists further up and on various sides of this. And so I definitely think, in the interest of time, we should start focusing on the biology and doing exactly what you just said.
Everybody else okay with that?
Yeah, Deb, I totally agree.
Okay.
Especially because, moving to another side, then you have to move the ship.
Exactly. That's why I was
Doesn't take
asking.
much.
Yep.
No.
So
Got 5.5 hours left.
start zooming in.
Are you constantly going
All right,
back
cool.
when you're
So,
to the north?
I think we've decided.
Constantly backing when you're to the
Sorry,
north?
pilots. I think we've decided that we
Well,
want to start
just
doing
because
some
going
zooms.
down, I have to back as it, and so you have to apply a little bit more than just to stay off, and that's just enough to blow it around. So I've come around. I'm trying to come around towards
I was going to suggest
the west side.
I would do that, and then
That way, I don't have to blow it as
Yeah.
much while we're doing the zooms.
So,
Pilots.
pilot, I think now is the time we're going to start doing imagery. So find the places that you feel most comfortable with and that look the best, and we'll just start zooming in and checking stuff out.
Okay, so
Cool.
you want to get a view of the shrimp and maybe
Some of the black smokers.
Definitely the shrimp.
Some of the
if we can get
crabs.
some of the gastropods and limpets in there.
Okay.
And for me personally, I would also like to see some of the morphology of the actual geologic structure as well.
Okay. Well, I'm coming back around to this section where I saw a lot of morphology and a lot of fingers and a lot of black smokers all in the same sort of area.
Yeah.
Which I think
Immediately
will
below you
Yeah,
seems to be a very bright
sorry,
black
pilot. The other thing we'd like to
smoke.
do is zoom in
a
on
little
some
hot on
of the
Sirius
orifices,
roll.
exactly where the black smoke is coming out of. We always like to sort of look at
Say again?
where
you.
that
Thanks,
where it
pilot.
is.
Sure.
So you know that meme downstairs? It's like Can we zoom on this and this and this? And can we
That's
select this?
the
and
whole
can we do
day.
whichever department? Can we? Yeah,
that's our day today. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not that we've ever
if,
done that before.
one of your targets can be one of the extreme smokers
This
or
is pretty
group
big,
of
actually. This is a
smokers.
30
Yeah,
meter,
we'll start
30
down
meter
and
tall
we'll
structure.
come up as we
So that's pretty big.
zoom.
Yes.
I'm gonna back up a little and see if the autos hold. I suppose for this.
That's a 10-story building.
Safety first, right? I've got bottom lock. I think the autos will hold.